me, Creative Mornings. I'm so happy that this is a thing, and thank you all for coming. My name is Elizabeth Maxwell. I am the partner and design director at a graphic design studio in town called Beagle, like the dog. We focus on brand identity and content development and print design, and we get to do a lot of really cool things, so I'm really flattered to be here. The theme for this month for Creative Mornings, for those of you who maybe it's your first time, a different city across the US, a different chapter of Creative Mornings, each month gets to set the theme, and the theme for this month is symmetry. And I was really stuck on this because there are so many obvious ways for this talk to go. And I'm a designer, and I have to make things more complicated than they really need to be. And so naturally, I struggled. Because my first thought, what this talk almost was your pretty typical, probably what you would expect, something like, have symmetry. Your imperfections make you perfect, okay? You don't need balance and stuff. But I'm not an asshole, so I left this idea at home. And I started thinking of some other words for symmetry, and I came across the word balance. I said, okay, balance is good. We like balance. It's not perfect symmetry. We like to eat balanced diets and live balanced lifestyles. And as an entrepreneur, the struggle is always the work-life balance, right? So I got on Medium, and I searched the word balance to see what other ideas from other people I could steal for this talk. And this is the first 50 articles on Medium when you search the word balance. I don't know if you can read these. They all say work-life balance. So I guess my point is, guys, it's been done. Some of my favorites here were things like, screw work-life balance. Work-life balance, the Workaholic Designers Edition. And don't let people bully you into work-life balance. This is what I'm talking about, designers liking to make things more complicated. So I'm going to do everybody a favor. I wrapped all this up with a bow. I'm just going to summarize it for you real quick and get it out of the way. Go home and see your kids. I put sometimes I guess just because there were so many contradictory articles that I thought maybe there was something I was missing about not seeing your family sometimes. So you can't say I wasn't impartial. So that being said, I was really stuck, and I went to my partner, Jordan, who's a phenomenal writer, and I was like, I need help. I can't figure out what to talk about. And he said, you know, if you get up there and you try to give some like BS TED Talk wannabe speech, everyone's going to see right through you. You don't have to try and come up with some like universal truth or some secret of business that only you know. You're really good at being yourself and being honest. I think you should just focus on that. And that's why my talk today is going to be titled Symmetry. So thank you, yes. So I see some trepidation in the audience. So let's just like break this down together really quick for those of you who didn't get to grow up female. So when you're guys, pick it up, come on. When you're a little girl, and you're grown up, things are changing. Sometimes you notice things aren't changing the way they're supposed to be, and not necessarily at equal rates. And you spend a lot of time in this private, pubescent torment, thinking that you are a weirdo. Why am I the only one in the world whose boobs are different? You think like, oh my God, no one's ever gonna love me. I'm a weirdo, I'm disfigured and awful. And what you don't know is that every little girl around you is thinking literally the exact same thing. Because no one sits you down as a child and says, hey, listen, things are gonna change. You might notice that your left to right boob distribution might be a little off. It's cool though. You know what? Your body is going to fluctuate on a day-to-day basis. You'll grow out of it. If you don't and it gets real weird, you can pay to get that fixed someday. In the meantime, if it really bugs you, here's a bra and a pair of socks. You'll make it work. You'll be fine, right? And I think that causes a lot of stress on us, and we do it to each other on a daily basis. We love to share our bright, shining moments. That is the crux of what social media is, right? Making yourself look like you are perfect, showing everybody how great you are. And on the inside, you're looking at everybody else, and you're thinking, oh, what's wrong with me? Why am I not as good as these other people? Why am I not as pretty or as talented? And as Hetty pointed out, if you follow me or you follow Beagle on social media, you'll see we're not on it a lot. And the truth is, it just feels very disingenuous. I think we all feel that way on some level with social media. So the truth is, no one wants to admit that they have quirks. We don't like to admit that there are things about us that we think are maybe a little bit different than other people. We definitely don't want to talk about our flaws, and the things that we know about ourselves are very imperfect. And God forbid we talk about our failures, because if you know my failures, if you see a failure of mine, that's a concrete thing that you can take to other people. In my mind, you can take that failure to other people and show them what a failure and what a fraud I am if I fail publicly. And then in my mind, everyone's against me because everyone knows I'm an imposter, and then I never get to work with anybody ever again. When the truth is, nobody cares, and we know that. So I know you guys are going to be on social media today, if you're not already bored and on social media right now. So I'm going to bring some symmetry and some balance to your life today. And I am going to talk to you about all of the shit that's wrong with me. I thought it would be nice for you to finally have someone make you feel better about yourself. In reality, I do think it's really important for us to be honest with each other and where we are. I think everybody would feel a lot better if we were just honest about the things that held us back. So when I got ready to put this talk together, I thought, okay, I'm sure I have some quirks, right, that the people who love me and are close to me know about. So I texted my husband and I said, hey, do you know of any idiosyncrasies or quirks that I have? And he said, honey, you're perfect. A more perfect woman has never existed. Quirks? I don't know what you're talking about. There is nothing about you that I would change, not a hair on your head. And honestly, my love for you is unconditional. So I had to dig really, really deep for this one and become really self-aware, since my husband thinks I'm so perfect, to figure out what some of my quirks are. So I've watched 30 Rock all the way through no less than 11 times. Yep. If you came to my AIGA talk, it was literally all about Liz Lemon. This actually infuriates my husband, who loves film and television. He's like, watch something new. There's so much out there. And look, I don't care. Apparently I use the word nebulous a lot. That's something my team tells me. I don't think it's true. I procrastinate like there is no tomorrow. You want to know what I was doing last night when I should have been practicing this talk? That's right. I was cleaning my house, okay? It's a thing I do, and I just need you to love me through it. I love getting rid of the old and bringing in the new. It's one of my favorite things. So once a year, I purge most of my closet, and then I spend the rest of the year hating myself because I have 7 things to wear. If you see me during the week and on the weekends, you will see me wear the same thing at least 3 or 4 times. It's gross, okay? And it's something I'm working on. So now that we're warmed up, you're buckled in, you know where we're headed. We're gonna step it up a notch, and I'll share some of my flaws with you. I am very against any kind of expectation placed on me by others or myself. This sounds like a humble brag. It is not. When I was a child, my mom would wake me up for school. She was very gentle. She would open my door and say, "Get your ass out of bed. You got to be at school in an hour." And I was never a really high maintenance girl, so I liked to lay in bed as long as I could. And then half an hour would pass, and she'd come in. "Beth, get out of bed. Come on, let's go." Another 15 minutes passes, and she's like, "Seriously, get out of bed. You have to leave in 15 minutes. And then it was, "Elizabeth Cheyenne, if you don't get your ass out of bed in the next 2 minutes, I swear to God, I brought you into this world, and I will take you out of it." When the whispers came out, I knew it was serious. So then I dragged myself out of bed, go to school. My dad was always like, "Why do you do that? You're just antagonizing her. You're making it hard on yourself. Why do you do that?" And I never had a good answer for him. I always gave him some BS answer about like, "Oh, I'm so tired." But the truth is I didn't know. I didn't understand really why my compulsion was to fight her so hard. And when I was in college, I learned that it's because I don't like people telling me what to do, to the extent that I will harm myself and my own best interests to not do what someone tells me to do. That's right. If you think I'm going back to that early 2000s Britney Spears hip-hugging bullshit, you're wrong. I have a fantastic team that I work with. They're so incredibly talented, and I'm so blessed to have them around. I really struggle to trust people to do the jobs that I hire them for, and it's not that I think that they are inadequate. It's not that I think they can't do it. I know that they can. But there is something in my head that always says, it would just be easier if you just took care of that. Like, I know you just hired a project manager, but you always deal with that client anyway. You should probably just call him yourself. And the truth is, as long as I do that, my business is just hindered by me and my weaknesses. My business can't be better, and the work that comes out of my studio cannot be better if I don't let other people do the things that they're good at. So this is a really, really big one that as a business owner, I struggle really hard with. And I just have to remember it's okay to let go. And other people are way more talented than you are. I also can't finish a whole bottle of shampoo. It'll never happen. It's a big waste of money, and I understand that, and it's fiscally irresponsible. And I don't think that one's going to change, honestly. So to get really serious, I'll tell you about some of my biggest failures as a person and as a business owner. I've let my business partner play the role of design director when I was too much of a coward to take responsibility. There have been times where, for one reason or another, if I feel like I'm being bullied by a client, or I just don't feel confident that I can get something signed off on for whatever reason, I have let Jordan play that role and make those presentations and get those sign-offs. And I don't think I need to tell you guys how problematic that is. That has been one of my biggest failures as a business owner, because if Jordan wasn't there, what would I do? You know what I mean? This is a really, really hard one for me, and it's really hard for me to remember that I own the business. And if I have a problem with a client or they have a problem with me, that's kind of too bad. And there's not a world that exists in which I shouldn't be taking responsibility for what's coming out of my studio. This one's really a double whammy. Not only did I lose a game of tic-tac-toe, the winning shot was set up for me. This is easily the most embarrassing thing that I could tell you, and it feels really good to get it off my chest today. Never told anybody. I've let my fear of judgment and the pursuit of perfection keep me from doing things that I find really fulfilling and very important. I think that being a creative, in whatever way you are creative, is one of the most important facets of life. And when we let that part of our life atrophy and we don't pursue those things, I think that's when we get into trouble. I think that's when we start to die as people on the inside. And for a really long time, I have not created things. I have not exercised that creative freedom because I was so afraid of what other people thought, and I was so afraid of people talking about me or not liking me. or whatever it is, insert fear here, that I just didn't do anything. And for years, I have just stagnated in that way. And that's something I'm really working on today is creating despite my own fears, creating in spite of myself. And on that note, I've also judged others to compensate for my own self-doubts. This usually happens at night when I'm like in my bed and I'm like under the covers and I'm just rage scrolling through Instagram. So angry and looking for things to hate on. So I guess you can say it's contained to that. I think this is a very human thing that we do. Even the kindest of us on some level, we use other people as a gauge for ourselves. And so when you see other people doing things wrong or doing bad things, it makes you feel like you're a little higher on the totem pole. And something that at Beagle this year, what we decided is, as a team, we're going to work really, really hard to make sure that we're always celebrating each other and that we're also celebrating other people in town. We're friends with most of the other design studios in town. The design community is very close-knit. There's just not a lot of us. And there's just no reason that we shouldn't be celebrating each other instead of, nitpicking the work that comes out or whatever it is. And that's just a super easy way for us to put a little positivity in our life. Because even though talking about our failures, laying all this stuff bare is really important, in the interest of symmetry and balance, it's also really important that we can celebrate each other and that we can talk openly about our successes and our achievements. And especially as a woman, you're not really raised to do that. You're not really taught that it's okay to be a little braggy sometimes. It's definitely you want to be, don't be immodest, just take it down a notch. But I think that's BS. And I think as open as we should be about our failures, we should also be celebrating each other. And that's why I'm now going to tell you about just a couple of the successes that I know that I have. At 24, I started a business with a partner I barely knew. We had no loans, we have no debt, and then every year since then, we've doubled our profits, which feels really good to say. It sounds really cool when you say it like that. I don't watch 30 Rock on loop anymore. I've graduated My Favorite Murder. We at Beagle have some of the most amazing creative clients. The kinds of projects that come in our doors are the kinds of projects that professors in school told us we would never get. They're the kind of projects that you get in school and they go, listen, have fun with this because you're not really going to get this in real life. I get those projects. And it started with one incredibly talented and creative and cerebral client. And then somehow we got another one. And since then, it has been an intentional pursuit by us to find people who are doing what they do creatively, who are craftspeople, and who are interested in a really artistic pathway on their branding. And I'm so blessed that I get to enjoy that in my own business. And more than anything, I've proven to myself, regardless of all my flaws and all of my failures and everything that might be wrong with me, I'm self-sufficient and I'm enough. And I know now that my family will never go hungry because look at what I've done. I've already done this. What do I have to worry about now? If I fail, what's going to happen? Nothing. I'm not going to lose my house. I'm not going to be homeless. I think if we all take a step back and we evaluate ourselves, we'll find that our greatest fears are usually pretty unfounded. They don't really hold a lot of weight when you start to pick them apart and you say, what am I worried about? I'm worried about putting food on the table. Okay, well, what happens if I don't make enough in my business this month? You go out and you hustle more. That's what you do. You go out and you find another job. You get a second job on top of the job you already have. When you start to pick those fears apart that way and you start to give yourself worst case scenario, you often find that your worst fears really, really aren't all that bad and aren't anything that you can't handle. So all this is just to say, I hope you feel a little bit better about yourselves today. I hope you look at this and you know that the compulsion here is to get up in front of you and try and say that I have some truth some universal truth I can share with you that you don't already know, or that my business is somehow more successful than the typical business. And none of that is true. This is the truth. The truth is I'm an imperfect person and I'm flawed and I'm doing the best that I can. And I've also done some really cool things, and I'm willing to bet that it would be the exact same story for every single one of you. So in summary, I guess what I'm trying to say is I think if we all showed each other our boobs a little more often, we'd probably all feel a little better about ourselves. Thank you.